Hello students, welcome back once again in my English videos. So in my last video, I was discussing about clauses and where we have learned the definition of clauses and how could we identify a clause or a phrase of a sentence. So today we are going to learn about its types. So without wasting much time, let's begin today's session. What are the kinds of clauses? So a clause has two characteristics. As we all know that it has a subject and a verb, and it is used as parts of a sentence. So there are two types of clauses. The independent clause, which is also known as main clause, and the second one is the subordinate clause, which is also known as dependent clause. So one by one we will see about independent and dependent clause. The first kind is independent clauses. So a group of words that can stand on its own as a sentence, they are called independent clauses. It has a subject, verb, and is a complete thought. It means it will give you a complete sense or complete meaning. For example, they dance under the rain. So here there is a subject, they, dance is a verb, and under the rain is the predicate. So this whole group of words are giving you a complete sense. Where is your sister? This sentence has also a complete sense, a complete meaning, and it consists of all the three elements. So yes, you can say that it is an independent clause. Now let's have a look on some more examples which you will relate with independent clause. Like, he is a wise man. I like him. Can you do it? Do it please. Here subject you is hidden. So in all these four sentences, you are able to find all the two main elements of clauses, especially independent clause. First, there is a subject like he, I, you, and in the last one also you is hidden respectively. Then verb like is, like, do. In the last two there is do. So these all are the examples of independent clause. Now here are few more examples like, I read the whole story. I want to buy a phone but I do not have or I don't have enough money. So in this sentence, I want to buy a phone is an independent clause, and I don't have enough money, that is also an independent clause. So you can say that a sentence can have more than one independent clause. He went to London and visited the Lords. Okay, so here the subject of the second clause is hidden over here. So yes, you can say that he went to London is an independent clause, and he visited to the Lords, that is also an independent clause. So I hope you have understood how to identify independent clauses. See the next kind of clause, that is dependent clause. Now a group of words that contains a subject and a verb, but it is not a complete thought. So you can say that independent clause gives you something not complete meaning. Okay, it also has a subject and a verb, but it will not give you a complete meaning or a complete thought. Because it is not a complete thought, a dependent clause cannot stand on its own as a sentence. Yes, it means that a subordinate clause or a dependent clause cannot stand alone as a sentence. They need one supportive or one independent clause to complete or to form a sentence, right? So it is dependent on being attached to an independent clause to form a sentence. For example, because I woke up late this morning. Now what happened when I woke up late? The meaning is not clear, although it has a subject and a verb, but still it is not giving you a complete thought or complete meaning. So you can say that it is a dependent clause. When we arrived in class, then what happened? What occurred? Still not got the complete sense, not complete meaning. So you can say that it is the dependent clause. If my neighbor does not pay his rent on time, then what will happen? No surety, no definite sense. So yes, this is also the dependent clause. Okay, now let's have a look on some more examples. For example, when I was dating Diana, I had an accident. So if I will take the first part, when I was dating Diana, then what happened? Okay, so this part is called dependent clause. I had an accident, that is independent clause. I know the man who stole the watch. So here, who stole the watch is the dependent clause. He bought a car which was too expensive. So which was too expensive is the dependent clause. So here, as you have noticed that these dependent clause always begins with, or they are attached with, subordinating conjunctions. Okay, so this will also help you to identify the dependent clause. There will always be some subordinating conjunctions with the dependent clause. I know that that he cannot do it. So that he cannot do it is the dependent clause. He does not know where he was born. So where he was born is the dependent clause. If you don't eat, you won't go. So if you don't eat, that is the dependent clause. And the last one, he is a very talented player. Though he is out of form. So though it is out of form is the dependent form. Okay, so students, I hope now you are able to identify and understand very well what is the independent and dependent clause. Now it's time to get to some activities and clarify your doubts or the learning which we will learn throughout the video. So here you have to mark the main clause and the subordinate clause in each of these sentences. Okay then students, now let's see the first sentence. We left the stadium before it started to rain. So here we left the stadium is the main clause, whereas before it started to rain is the subordinate clause. Next, while we wait here, you can get the tickets. So as you can see here, you can get the tickets is the main clause, whereas while we wait here is the subordinate clause, or you can say independent, or you can say dependent clause. I was late because I was lost on the way. So I was late is the main clause, whereas because I lost the way, this is the subordinate clause. Although we left early, we were late. So we were late here is the main clause, whereas although we left early, that is the subordinate clause. Number 5, the baby will wake up if you talk loudly. So here the baby will wake up is the main clause, whereas if you talk loudly, that is the subordinate clause. No one knows where they have gone. So no one knows, this is the independent clause or the main clause, whereas where they have gone, this is the dependent clause or the subordinate clause. Number 7. I wonder, why is he taking such a long time in the store? So here in this sentence, I wonder is the main clause, whereas why he is taking so much time in the store, that is the subordinate clause. I was listening to music when Raghu called. So I was listening to music. This is the independent clause, whereas when Raghu called, this is the subordinate clause. Okay, number 9. Did you notice the girl who was wearing a red dress? Okay, so in this sentence, did you notice the girl? This is the independent clause, whereas who was wearing a red dress, this part is called the subordinate clause. Last but not the least, the puppy got inside the basket as it wanted to slip. So in this sentence, the puppy got inside the basket is the main clause, whereas as he wanted to slip, this part of a sentence is the subordinate clause. Okay students, so I hope you have understand this exercise, and through this exercise it will be now very much clear to you to differentiate between the dependent and the independent clauses. So that's all for today's video. See you in the next session. Till then, take care. Bye bye.